Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of History Buff 41. Today we're doing something a little different. For the first time you're actually seeing me in front of the camera. Normally I am behind the camera and got some piece of military surplus item from one of the world wars, or a little later, a little earlier, in front of the camera, and we're going over that. But today we're going to talk about a temporary museum display that I visited over the Thanksgiving holiday. Um, if you get a chance, in St. Louis, there is the Soldiers Memorial. Not only is it a memorial to soldiers from the St. Louis area who were killed in World War I, it is also a museum that focuses on military history of the St. Louis region from the Revolutionary War all the way up to present day. Currently, or at least until January 12th of 2025, they have a temporary exhibit about the U.S. Army's 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, more commonly known as the Ghost Army. So this is actually a traveling display. It is on loan from the National WWII Museum down in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. The Ghost Army, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the deception campaign that occurred prior to D-Day. There was a large fake encampment created in northern England to make the Germans think that the Allies were going to come across there at Pas-de-Calais and land there. They created a number of fake encampments, made rubber, basically large blow-up balloons to look like tanks and trucks and half-tracks and vehicles and artillery pieces and aircraft and whatever else, and had fake tents set up, fake radio communications, just all sorts of things. And in charge of all of this, the commander of this supposed first U.S. Army group was General George S. Patton. Most of you are familiar with that, but that deception campaign continued on after the Normandy invasion. So these troops from the 23rd Headquarters Unit would move along the front, and they would set up fake positions to make the Germans think that they were in areas that they weren't. They would do things. They had about a 2-mile reel of tape recorded, which equates to about a half hour of sound, of tanks that are moving along the ground and armored vehicles moving along the ground. And what they would do is they would have these mounted in half-tracks with large speakers on them, and they'd drive them around an area until the recording went out to make the Germans think that there was armor moving into an area. And this was one of those things that was so secret that they had the actual half-tracks rigged with explosives in the event that their position was overrun, that they could blow up the tanks and they wouldn't be captured. So how did they do this? They used a number of different techniques and tactics. In addition to recordings like this, they used fake radio traffic. They had people sending fake signals back and forth. Some of them were recording, some of them were real. And they also created fake tents, fake camouflage emplacements, fake gun emplacements. And to do this, the Army went through and they found a bunch of people with theater backgrounds, people with art backgrounds, to help disguise and to help cover up and to help fake the look of an actual military encampment. And in addition to those individuals, they found used regular career military people, and they had engineers to assist as well. And this was a massive deception campaign that was generally successful. And so if you go visit this exhibit at the St. Louis Soldiers Memorial, you will see they have some replicas of a couple of blow-ups. One of I believe it was a M3 Priest, and also of an artillery gun. They have a number of exhibits there, as you can imagine, with artists. In their free times, they like to paint and draw. And there was one artist who drew sketches of individuals that had been captured on the Eastern Front and were repatriated back to the Soviet Union. A lot of those individuals, when they returned to the Soviet Union, they were executed, and so those are some of the last images of those individuals, those sketches. Another person was a painter, and they had a number of his paintings hanging on the wall. Interestingly, he used a German grenade case, an empty German grenade case at that, to carry his art supplies in, his brushes and his paints and whatever else he used. And at one point, he was on leave in Paris and ran into a fellow by the name of Picasso, and he studied for a week or so under, or a little while at least, under Picasso, and there is a painting there that looks very much like something that Picasso would have painted, very much that style. And so a number of these individuals then went on to have careers as artists and as entertainers, some in Hollywood working on TV shows, others, doing photography or making stamps for the federal government, designing stamps, that sort of thing. As part of this exhibit also, they had a number of interviews of individuals who were involved in the unit, and it's really just a fantastic exhibit if you have the time and the ambition to travel to the St. Louis area, or if you're in the neighborhood, to stop by. As part of their more permanent exhibits, they have some other stuff. Basically, the museum is divided in half. On one half, you have essentially the Revolutionary War through about World War I. They have stuff there about designing the monitors and the ironclads during the Civil War. They have a lot of stuff around the World War I, pieces of shrapnel, a lot with the various veterans groups and the founding of some of these veteran service organizations that those of you who are veterans are probably members of. So that's one half of the museum. And then to get to the other half, you can either go through to the basement, which is where the temporary exhibit on the Ghost Army is, or you can just walk across and past the memorial for the fallen soldiers in World War I. And over there starts World War II, and then it goes into present day. They have a number of items that have been donated to the museum, weapons and uniforms and helmets and personal objects. They have, one thing that I never realized was that the turrets for a B-17, I'm sorry, not B-17s, B-24s, were actually manufactured in St. Louis. And they have one of those turrets in there on display. And interestingly, if you look inside at the controls, it looks very similar to the controller for a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Nintendo 64, something of that nature. So interesting thing there. They have a number of interviews around the global war on terror. They have a news clip from when Rocky Sickman returned back to the United States. He was a Marine guard at the U.S. Embassy in Iran, and he was from the St. Louis area. And when the Iranian government was overthrown, he was one of the prisoners taken, or one of the individuals taken prisoner at the U.S. Embassy, and was held captive for 444 days. So again, great little day trip for those of you in the St. Louis area, or if you're passing through, visiting family or friends or what have you. Be a great way to spend a couple of hours. So with that, I'm going to sign off for now. So please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this video. And thank you very much for watching.